Good afternoon. This is Steve Giordano with Photo Finale. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to join us for our webinar and go over our fourth quarter items, particularly our holiday releases. These items are designed to drive revenue for you in the fourth quarter and into 2018 and to fundamentally change and improve your customer experience and ultimately your profitability. We have released this month three separate releases, and last month one release. Last month we released the new 4.0 platform for our Pocket Pics or iPhone app. And if you haven't upgraded to that yet, I would suggest you upgrade to 4.0 immediately. It is required to work with the new HEIF format from Apple, and since that is a standard and default format now for most iPhones, you need to keep that. You need to upgrade to be compatible. This month we've released the new APM 10.0 release, the new Lab 50 9.5 release, and Photo Finale 12.5. All of these are designed to be working in unison to help you drive additional sales and profitability. We are very excited about some of the things that are going to help you, and I'm going to go over those as we speak. One of the things I'd like to point out was kind of interesting is it looks like our releases from last year and the year before, 2015, happened right about the same time frames. And we're showing a little bit of consistency now, it looks like. And it looks like we're always trying to prep for that Black Friday, Cyber Monday event to make sure we have our best opportunity to drive calendar, card, and book sales, especially in the fourth quarter. But without further ado, let's get started on the first product, the APM 10.0. The first thing you'll notice about APM 10.0 is on the version I'm running right now, it has a side banner over here. See where it says ready to print your best photo shots. This is something that's been around for a while. Not many of you have deployed it. Either you didn't know about it or it seemed to be too much of a hassle to do something about it. So what we did in version 10.0 is we added some default banners that will download to your kiosk that are rather generic, that'll just dress up the system a little bit. Your kiosk, you should think of it not just as a kiosk, but when it's not in use, it's digital signage. It allows people in the store who are browsing around to see other things that you do and other ways that you can help them with their imaging needs. So we do have generic banners that'll sit here and they'll rotate through what we have online, and we plan on updating this throughout the year and keeping track of it. Currently, it is US only. I'm sorry, not US only, English only. So if you're running in a foreign language other than English, you do need to use your own graphics, but we can provide the Photoshop files for the ones that we use if you'd like to modify them. You can get those files by contacting our support team or looking in the newsletter from Rachel Van Tassel that sends them out. And we'll make sure we follow up with another newsletter with a link to those files so you can customize them. The other thing you'll notice is that in this version of the kiosk, we are running JPEGs instead of the intro movie that's standard that comes with the kiosk. And this is the ideal implementation for most of you. We do recommend you putting items up that are for sale in your system, inspiration and information to your customers, whatever that may be. You'll notice here these graphics are a combination of IPI graphics and Bedford pics. So these are, we borrowed these from the fine folks at Bedford's who are a great customer of ours. And they do update their intro movie on a regular basis, and I think it does pay dividends for them. So again, the two things you can do is write Justify on a widescreen format, add in some marketing panels on the left, and then change your intro loop to act as digital signage. Okay, so let's take a look at the kiosk itself. The first thing that I'd like to really point out with our kiosk is the improvement in the iPhone and Android connectivity directly to the kiosk. As we know, this has become a growing and almost dominant portion of our business from printing aspects, especially in the in-store operation. There has been several challenges that have occurred over the years with connectivity to kiosk, and those stemmed from a myriad of issues. We started with the cabled connection, and the cable connection worked great for a couple of years, and then as camera phones started to tighten down their security model and started to change the way they work, particularly with Android, it became less consistent. So we released what we called our Wi-Fi transfer system, which was by far the most secure and fastest connectivity system out there in the marketplace, and continues to be such even to this day. However, the problem with the Wi-Fi connector is it required two things. One, it required the customer to know their iTunes password, and two, it required them to join this ad hoc network that didn't have internet connection. And the problem there comes from the new iOS version, and Windows 10 blocks ad hoc connections unless you really know what you're doing in a configuration standpoint. So that can cause some issues over time. So that became not as stable in places where people didn't have an IT staff to stay on top of those type of issues. So we came out with what's called the upload to kiosk method. And this is a generic system, not a generic system, sorry. It's a system that's designed to work directly with Photo Finale from the phone standpoint, and have your kiosk work directly with Photo Finale from the kiosk standpoint. And what this does is it allows Photo Finale to be in control of the relationship and the security model and the connectivity from end to end to make sure it's seamless and works effectively everywhere. So let's take a look how it works. There's two ways that the system works. The first way is if you come in here, you can connect using our iOS app. As I mentioned earlier, the version 4.0 of our app has been released and is designed to work directly with the kiosk. This is the easiest way for customers to communicate with our system. So let's take a look. All you do is they click on the iOS app. It'll tell them what network to join. If they wanted to join the local Wi-Fi, they don't have to. You do not have to provide this. They can use their cellular system, their LTE or what have you. And then you want to go ahead and launch the app. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here by minimizing. And then I'm going to go ahead and show my phone if this works. Let's see. There we go. So now I can see my cell phone. And I'm going to go ahead and open the Silverline app. As you can see, I was just ordering systems. Now you see on the new iPhone app, there's an upload to kiosk button. I can come through and look at my different photos. I can look at my favorites, and I can select some photos to upload. Once I select those photos, I simply hit next, and then it proceeds to upload those photos directly to the Photo Finale system. So notice it's very easy. I didn't have to type anything in. I didn't have to communicate. As long as the app was already downloaded to my phone, it was very effective, very easy, just communicate. Then what I get is this code right here, and then I want to enter that code into my kiosk. I simply go over to my kiosk. I enter the code, and it was Z8SAF. I'm going to say OK. All right, and then it's going to download those files. Takes a second. I hit continue, and now I can use my user interface just as if I'd done anything else. Just I use a card reader or whatever. Very simple way to get images into the kiosk. Works very quickly. There's no problems at all. Okay, so let's take a look at, let's say you don't have the iPhone app, or the customer doesn't want to download it, or they're using an Android system. In that case, what they would do is they would go through the same method. They go to iPhone and Android, and they'd say use a browser. Again, they can connect to the Wi-Fi just like before, but this time they're going to go to uploadtokiosk.com. So let's take a look at what that looks like. I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm still on my app now, but let's go ahead and open up Safari. I'm going to go to uploadtokiosk.com, which I'm already there. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to add a photo. Okay. I'm going to add those same photos. All right. Let's add more this time. We'll add 8. And we'll go, and you'll notice how fast it is to upload. So now it's uploading those files right from my phone, and then I get a claim code. Works exactly the same way. Now on the upload to kiosk.com, it gives you the ability to add additional photos, and then you can choose, do you want to add additional photos, or do you want to start a new batch? So you can keep adding photos to the same batch if you have a lot of images that you'd like to upload, but you're not in the same place, or they're harder to get to, or you just get confused. So the customer can keep adding photos if they like. But let's go back to enter the code that I was given, which was YS23A. I simply hit continue, and then it'll download those files. And now I'm in my user interface. As soon as it's finished receiving the last file, Takes sometimes a second. Okay, simply hit continue. Let's get started. And then we will take a look at the photos. Now I'm into my user interface. So very easy. Now you have two easy ways for Android users and iPhone users to get into the kiosk very effectively without having to type in anything, type in passwords, join Wi-Fi's. It's very simple, very easy, and is secure because it works directly with our servers and then back down to your kiosk. Now, one of the use cases with this system that's kind of interesting is because it is a browser-based system, any computer in the world could actually upload to your kiosk. So if somebody came in with their laptop instead of their iPhone, they could do the same thing from their laptop. They can go to uploadtokiosk.com, select all their photos, and go. You could do that from one of your computers. Let's say a customer gave you a roll of film, and you process that roll of film. You could then upload it for them in the back room, give them a code, and then they can go enter that code in the kiosk, and now they can access their photos and decide what to print. So the idea here with uploadtokiosk.com is that not only is a cell phone connectivity, it's really just a browser-based connectivity. You can go anywhere you want. Okay, so what else is going on with Photo Finale 10.0? Another new feature we added was the ability for thumbnails to change in size. So the customer could actually increase the size of the thumbnails. This is a request that many people have put out there as they've gotten bigger and bigger screens, and they need more and more real estate for the customers to differentiate between photos. So it's a small thing, but it's a big thing as well. It allows you really to be more effective with the consumer. So that's up here on the far right. Another feature we added, we heard a lot of comments from people that they wanted the ability to print all of not just 4x6s. So we've changed the behavior of the +1 4x6 button to now a select all button. And then I could say I wanted a 6x6 pearlescent photo instead. Okay. And I can deselect. Other than that, it works very similar to our old system, right? Some updated graphics here, but nothing major. And so your consumer should be very comfortable for the fourth quarter without a lot of change. Okay, so when you hit continue, we'll go down. This is this cropping screen. Many of you may not know that the cropping screen does allow you to not only crop, but also rotate the crop. I don't know if you knew that, and to resize the crop. So the customer can, within the aspect bounds of the photo they order, they can use it to do whatever they'd like to do. Right, so they don't just doesn't have to be just aspect checking. It can also be cropping. Once I hit continue, I'm going to go into the new option to save to a USB drive. So this is new in APM 10.0. We've got a lot of requests over the years for customers to be able to not only burn a CD or a DVD, but also save to a USB device. So now that option is available. It does burn the USB device to the Lab 50, and mainly that's for security reasons. We don't want people putting random USB devices into computers and having it accessed with read-write access. So that could be a no-no from a security standpoint. So it's all going to be done back behind the scenes in Lab 50. Now, I've heard a couple different models for how to sell the USB. Some people said they're going to do it for $9.99. Basically because they're selling a 16 gig, which is twice as big as a DVD. Some people are going to sell it for $14.95. Some people are going to sell it for $19.95 and give unlimited use. So they buy the USB device from the store, and as long as they keep bringing that same USB device back, they can keep adding photos that way. Whatever the model is, we'll know better and best practices by probably January or February, and we'll share it with everybody. But if this is a good time, and this is a good place to use the forums for the different groups that you belong to post ideas, suggestions, and successes so we can all grow from the opportunity here. But USB drive is now available and is easy to do. Okay, so once I go down and done through my system, going through the kiosk, I've now selecting the photos I want on my USB. Let's say I don't want all my photos. And then I go to checkout. I have another one of my favorite features, and that's the rush order. Now, the beauty of the rush order system is it allows you to take advantage of a change in behavior that happens in consumers over the last couple of years. And that is that over the years, people have always asked us, hey, would you please make this in a half hour? I really got to get going somewhere. And you do your best in the store to make that happen for them. And you're trying to provide good customer service. And most times you don't charge them an expedite fee. However, more and more today, consumers are willing to pay for their time, and they understand the value of their own time. So charging for rush order is something that I think is important to your store if you're going to be provided expedited services, and the customers don't mind. I've heard anecdotes and stories about customers who get a little unhappy with a 39-cent 4x6, but are willing to pay a $3 rush order. And that makes sense because basically the 4x6 they're looking as a price they can buy anywhere, but the rush order is a value on their own time. So their time feels more valuable than $3. They're willing to pay that. But the 39-cent 4x6, they've seen it somewhere for 29 cents. So the idea here with rush order is it's good profit for you, it's good margin for you, has no real cost because you're probably providing that service anyway. And you just click this button, and now you have a rush order. And that's what's new in the kiosk. Nothing, I think it's, we've also improved under the scenes the JPEG library and the way we decompress files. So you're going to notice that loading cards about 5 to, some significantly faster. I don't remember the exact percentage, but significantly faster loading of images. In addition, it supports the HEIF file format from Apple directly. So as customers come in with these new file formats, if they can get into the system as a HEIF, it will come into the HEIF and we'll convert it to a JPEG before it gets downstream for printing. So those are the features of APM 10.0 that are highlighted. And let's take a look at how to configure those systems. So I'm going to go ahead and open the hardware attendant and go into Setup Wizard, which appears to be running somewhere. Sorry, 1 second. Is it running in the background here? Hold on 1 second. I just got to get this thing and launch it. All right. Sorry for the delay. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these features and how we turn them on. Let's take a look at the first thing we looked at, the monitor settings. So you want to go into Kiosk Settings and Setup Wizard, and then on the bottom left, there's Monitor Settings. The system I used is right aligned. I prefer right aligned to left aligned, mainly because most users are right-handed and their image flow goes from the right to left. So we'll start looking at marking and they'll want to finish on the send button. So right aligned is what we do. And then what you want to do is if you want to use our default systems because you haven't designed your own, just click URL and say reset to default, and that'll connect to our content system and it'll just pull up whatever banners we have at that point in time. Just as a reminder, it is English only right now. We do have the files available to customize if you're running in a different language. If you run your own, you create your own banners, which I do recommend. You just click here and then add the image. It'll tell you the size you need for your monitor. So 480 by 1080 is what I would need for that banner, and then you can go from there. So monitor settings is the first thing that you need to configure. The next thing is the intro movie customization, where that intro loop, instead of running our movie, you can run still frames of what you're merchandising to use your kiosks as digital signage. Essentially, you're just going to go here to branding, intro movie, and then add custom graphics. They need to be 1024 by 7068, and then you just put them in order, choose the file. If you have multiple kiosks and you want them all to use the same file, you can just use an online image and you can post it to a Dropbox and use the Dropbox link or to your own internal servers, however you want to do it internally. So that's how you customize the intro movie. The next thing you want to do is for mobile connectivity, you want to enable your cell phone usage. So if you want to still support the cabled connection, you want to make sure this checkbox is checked. And this will allow you to connect via cable as well as wireless. If you are going to use cabled connection and you would like a successful path for iPhones, make sure you install copytransdriver.net. If you go to that URL, there's a set of drivers for Apple that are the latest Apple drivers, which you can install without installing iTunes. And that is a preferred method of making sure you have the latest drivers. You want to do that every 3 to 4 weeks because Apple changes their drivers on a regular basis if you want to stay up to date with iOS connection. I don't recommend keeping cabled connections, mainly because they're fraught with problems. They're not as easy, and they sometimes have security issues, and essentially I don't think it's an elegant solution. And if you want to turn on the new Upload to Kiosk button, this is where you would select it. And you would say, if you have a Pocket Pix app, you would name it, click that button. And if you want to offer Wi-Fi access, you would put the information right there. If you go into the image CD, you would go in and offer image CD button, clicking it on right there. And that's how you start offering the image CD. Okay, and then you price it just like you price anything inside the fulfillment, and you just price the USB right there. Okay, so essentially that's how you configure the items that we just went over in version 10.0. And I think that's everything from the APM right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at the website. So Photo Finale 12.5 is a significant step forward in a few ways for our Photo Finale platform. The main way is a back-end redesign of the entire text engine to make sure we're getting better text line assignments for rendering downstream for very fine text control. So that's a big improvement in Photo Finale 12.5. That does require a Lab 50 installation, which we're going to go over in a little bit, but make sure you are updating all of your products at the same time. So what I'm showing here is demo.photofinale.com. You guys can take a look at this at your leisure and look and see some of the ideas that we put forth for our systems. This is by no means a comprehensive look at everything we do or the only way we do things, but it is a nice glimpse of how we think you could lay out your store online. Photo Finale Enterprise is a system that is not just our back-end engine for creating personalized products, but it's a merchandising front end with designed SEO and SEM tools to make sure that it's the most effective brand you could put online. And what that means is basically if I come in and I look at cards and stationaries, instead of just going to make the card, I can talk about what I'm doing with the card. If I want to go ahead and look at canvases, I can show an example of what a canvas looks like. I can talk about the prices, and the customer can browse and shop. And when they want to actually make a product, then it'll go into the engine. But the header stays the same. You're going to consistent look for the system, and then you could go on and start making the product. So the idea behind Photo Finale Enterprise is essentially a step forward in your web presence to make you look more like a bigger player like Shutterfly or Snapfish or whomever. Now, Photo Finale Enterprise takes a commitment in time and dedication from the store to design all the graphics. Sometimes the graphics can be the hardest part. How do I want to talk about my canvas? How do I want to talk about my calendars? What is it that I want to say to compel customers to order this 12 by 12 for $39.99? So it does take some time up front. So there's another option, and Winter Photographics is a great customer of ours who just ported to something called our PFSR platform plus Pages, which is kind of a new model for us. It's kind of a hybrid between our PFSR, which is our standard one-page responsive and secure design system, to a responsive and secure design, but has multiple pages, and you buy them ad hoc as you go forward. So essentially, Winter Photographics had two websites, winterphotographics.com and winterphotographics.photodepot.ca, which was their Photo Finale site. And they really wanted to consolidate them into one single site and make it easy for customers to find everything that they did. So what we did is we did the PFSR plus Pages, and we added in her services options. So she just took the PFSR, and now she has services, like her retouching service, her passport service, her framing service, her transfer service, and whatever else that the customer wants. Okay, oops, looks like she's got a bad link. We're going to have to go fix that. You could go through and look at passports and so on and so forth. So she's got this full system here with FAQs and what's going on with her and how she can help you with it. So this is called our PFSR with Pages. Now, she also implemented the view proof system. If you haven't seen that, this is an event imaging system that we launched earlier in the year. I'm not going to go over it too much today. It is good for Santa Claus pics and event imaging and Christmas parties and such like that. So you can integrate not only your standard site, but also your proofing site into the system. Okay, so let's take a look at one of my favorite features of the Photo Finale system, and that is the search button. It is a little known feature for most of my staff, my lab customers, but consumers love that feature. And everything that they type in here, they can find the product that they're looking for very quickly, okay, including themes. So I'm looking for what does Photo Finale offer as far as Christmas products. And then it'll show me all the products, and then I'll go into my Christmas themes for that product. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons. One, it's the way consumers shop. If you think about Amazon, hardly anybody goes to Amazon and then goes into kitchen and then goes into cooking and then goes into microwaves and then goes into big microwaves to go to shop. What they do is they type in, I need a 12 cubic inch microwave, and it'll come up with the products that match what they're looking for. The same thing works for your system now. People can come and just type what they're looking for. Maybe they don't want to browse through all your shopping pages. They just want to get there. So why is this important for you to know? These search items that are in here are things that you can control through MyLab and Lab 50 by adding those text tags into the product descriptions. So whatever you put in there is searchable within our system, but also through Google. So you want to make sure you're as verbose as possible and accurate as possible. And if you have things you want to promote that are maybe local in nature or particular in nature, you want to make sure you put those in the search words and make sure you call out your search. Okay. So the next thing I want to go over is one of my favorite new features of Photo Finale, and that is our product personalization with upsell. So what this means is when I go in to buy an 8x4 card, for example, let's say I wanted a Christmas card. Okay. I would then select whatever card I wanted. Let's say I want this card right here. All right. I'm going to define it because I'm logged in so I can save my projects. All right. I'm going to go ahead and add some photos. Just anecdotally, my son was way cuter when he was 4 than he is when he's 15. Right. Add some text. Right. And then you can change all your text items, whatever you want to do to the text, you can change. And then I'm going to add it to cart. So now I've got this cart. Now I have an option here where I can change, let the customer upgrade themselves from just a standard 8x4 flat card to an 8x4 flat card with luster paper and an envelope for 35 cents each, or metallic paper, or with premium envelopes for 40 cents each. But you get the idea. The idea here is now every product can have an attribute that upsells it into another product. And that product can either be routed directly through Lab 50 or it can be just a user operator notification. And we'll go over that when we get to Lab 50. So where can we use this? What are some of the uses? The first use I can think of is cards, obviously, upgrading the finish, upgrading the envelope type. You can use it in photo books to change the substrate of the paper from a standard glossy to a satin or a rag. You can use it for a canvas system to add hanging attachments. You can use it on a canvas system to go from a 1-inch stretcher bar to a 2-inch stretcher bar. But you get the idea. You can use it as just a gift wrapping option. Maybe you want to put a $10 gift wrap option on every product to make sure that you could wrap these presents for people, and that's an added value to the consumer, added value to you as profit, so you can find ways to do that. So essentially, this new attribute system allows you to add attributes to any product and go downstream. Okay, and that'll add it to the cart. All right, so that's how you add attributed products with pricing. Another thing you can do, I'm going to go ahead and look for dog tags, for example. Let's say I wanted to get a dog tag for my my pet for Christmas. I can now put in dog tags. I can highlight this and see what this looks like. Oh, I get it. Okay. So I want to put, baby Bella, my dog. 1, 2, 3, 4. Main Street is my name. If lost, call me. And just put my number. Right? And you get the idea. So now I can have product personalization. Now what will happen on this is when I add this to cart and I send it downstream, it'll now allow the operator to get the text and then either engrave it into a dog tag if it's a dog tag, or let's say it's a different type of product. Let's say it's like it's a tote bag. Oops, I spelled it wrong. We don't have any bays. Let's say it's a tote bag. I can go to my vintage camera bag for hipsters, and I can say, okay, I don't have a middle name, but we'll do SWG. Okay, and then I get that, and then I send it downstream, and that'll be monogrammed, and I can buy that. So it's very simple. So you can have two types of product customizations. One, a list view of pull downs, or you can have a text entry field. Maybe you want to add foil text. So maybe one of your options is for every card, you want them to add a foil. Choose the add a foil option. They type it in there, you'll get the text string, and now you can foil that on a secondary process downstream. So the idea is that you can go any direction with this, and you can price it. So the foil could be priced or not priced, however you'd like to see it work. Okay. The other thing is we also have available, in case you haven't been employing it yet, the ability to sell pure merchandise like classes, for example. And all the IPI classes are built into Lab 50 with all their descriptions and information. And then they can just go ahead and say, I'd like to register for a class and sign up for a class by doing merchandise. That's been in our system for a while now. It's not necessarily new, but something that you can do right now and make sure you take advantage of it. Okay. So let's take a look at another product here. Not Canvas, sorry. I'm going to go through and look at my cards and stationery again. I'm going to do my 4x8. I think I configured this differently, so I'm going to see if I did. All right, just going to create a card here real quick. Nope, I didn't. Okay. So anyway, those are the new features in 12.5 that are major in the creative engine. They're basically ways for you to make more money in the cart, right? How to upsell your customers into new things. The other thing that we have built into our system now is a feature request that you guys have asked for over and over again. I'm going to go ahead and reset my order. I have a lot of stuff in my cart. So I can go ahead in here and I can select the files. And let's say I wanted 55 of these. I don't want to hit plus 55 times now. I can now go in and say add 55. So that's a different way of doing it now. You just hit this button here and they can add as many as they want of any product. And they can go forward instead of just hitting the plus like they used to in the past. Okay, so that's a nice little just advantage. Notice the cart is always telling them how much they're saving by increasing their quantity. And they also get that by looking at the quantity breaks over the images. So making sure you have price tiers is something that's very important. Okay, so I think that's what's new in Photo Finale 12.5. There's lots of ways to deploy those items. I think I would love to see what you guys come up with. I know Joel Miller has already posted a couple links into the forum of IPI, if you're an IPI member, asking questions of what you're up to. I'd love to see what you're up to, and the more we share, the better we're going to do with this whole system. So let's take a look at Lab 50. On Lab 50, you see I'm running the latest version, 9.51. You'll also notice that there are these rush order items notifications happening on the kiosk. Sorry, on Lab 50. Rush order items are available in both web and kiosk. They will show up the same way. And that's how your staff will know. When it prints out the invoice, it'll actually print off a big priority banner right on the top of the invoice. So it calls it out in red, and it's easy to find, and they'll know what to do with it. So the rush order is something I would recommend everybody implementing if you can find a way to work with your production. The other thing that happens is when you get an order in, this is where the personal instructions or the itemization will happen. So as I was looking at luster prints with envelopes, it will show up here. It will also print on the invoice so you know what the customer ordered and how to apply the customization. This is also where if you don't have personalization, special instructions will show up there. Okay, so in your Lab 50, it will show up right here so your operators will know what to do. Another option for you to do when you're setting this up is to have the product, instead of just having the message there, which is one way, is to redirect to a different fulfillment option so it goes right to the correct printer so you could know from a production standpoint. Again, that gets into how complicated you want your setup to be, how much your IT staff is going to help you set this up, or whether you just want to rely on a good operator to understand what you're going to enter. I think that's everything in Lab 50 that's changed. I mean, the back end has changed a little bit because it works with the new Kiosk rendering system, but nothing in the front end really changed. Oh, one thing you do need to know, if you go into settings here, under fulfillment, media export, this is how you turn on the USB export. So you want to click this to enable it, and then you want to set a folder that you're gonna export this to. Okay, and then make sure you hit save and exit. Most people forget to hit that the first few times. They wonder why it doesn't work. So just enable it, set the folder, save and exit. You're good to go, and now you're producing USB drives very effectively and very easily. So that's essentially what's going on with Lab 50. So let's take a look at MyLab now. The first thing we want to look at in MyLab is the product pricing, which is a new system. So in MyLab, there's now this new button or new tab here called product pricing. And I think you guys are all going to love it, where I could just go through and I could edit a product's price very quickly. I just change that. I can look through every single product I have in my system and I can edit the price. In the ones that are not priced will be in red, so you can tell that they haven't been updated. Right? And you can go through and change all your prices very, very quickly, much simpler than the older method. We don't have the ability to export to Excel right now, but that will be coming. Another feature we have that's a little used by most of our dealers is the multi-copy pricing. And what multi-copy pricing is, kind of a throwback to the old days of photo where you used to have double prints, where the first image, the first print of a particular image was one price and every other print after that could be a different price. This works the same way. So if you wanted to price, 10 calendars at with a price cliff at a certain number, but 10 of the same calendar maybe be even more discounted because your production got easier or whatever, benefits of scale you wanted to give the consumer, you could put in your multi-copy pricing right here. This is also where you can check additional pages. Additional pages are probably one of the big problem spots for a lot of dealers that are making their own photo books. And the reason is that a lot of people forget to price them appropriately or price them at all. Now, additional pages are, in fact, where all the money is in photo books. Photo book pricing is a commodity. Basically, Shutterfly and Snapfish have defined what the prices are going to be, and you can go over that to a certain percentage, but at some point you're an outlier and you're no longer a viable option for consumers. Now, however, with additional pages, this is where you make money. This is similar to how the rush order fees work. The way rush fees work is basically you're telling the customer that your time is worth money, how much time do you have and how much money do you have, and they choose, yes, for $3, I can get out of here in 10 minutes. I want that done. Additional pages are the same way. They're telling their story and they have more to tell. They will pay more for additional pages. The price of the product is a commodity. The price of the page is their own story. So you have more leeway here with driving profitability. It's also got a higher perceived value than actual value in the photo book. So this is a place where you need to make sure you pay attention to pricing. You don't necessarily Shutterfly or Snapfish or Mixbook or any of those guys for pricing. You can be higher on your additional page prices. I mean, you can't be crazy, but you can be higher. So make sure you take a look at your additional pages. So that's the pricing tab. That's one of my favorite tabs. But let's take a look now at the catalog, and let's look at how I configured that personalization. So if I go into cards, and I go into personalization, you remember the product I had was the 8x4 product that I had customized previously. So I'm going to go ahead and go into this product. Right. So now I'm in the 8x4 product. And the way I turn on, all right, before I talk about personalization, see this icon right here that comes from our system? It's a generic icon meant to work for every dealer. If you were promoting and designing fantastic cards within your store, you need to change these preview icons. You just click here and change icons. You're all photographers, or most of you are photographers, or no photographers. Print out a great card, take a picture of it, and change your icon. It will pay dividends. Customers will be more engaged. They'll notice the localness. They'll certainly notice the customizations, and it won't look as generic. So when at all possible, update icons for products that you're playing with. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do it for every product, but if you know you sell more cards than dog tags, you should make sure your cards are amazing, and that means from the icon on down. Okay, now to do personalization, you just click on the enabled button, and then you type in a personalization prompt. For example, please choose finish and envelope. Right? So whatever string you wanted to show up in there, and then you start listing your options. You just click new options, and you go. You give it a name, whatever you want that name to be. Okay, glossy with envelopes. Now, when you're doing personalization options, the first option has to be the original product name. So when there's a personalization option on, they must select a personalization. So your first option in this case would be a glossy paper 8x4. Now, if your default card is a matte, then you want to put a matte paper with envelopes, greeting card, and then you do a price adjustment of 0 and 0. Okay, and then you list all your other options. The way price adjustments work is the first product is priced, so the first card is an additional 35 cents, and then each additional card is 35 cents. And the reason why this is set up this way is there are some things that will be priced only once, like let's say gift wrapping. So there's no additional price. We're going to charge $10 to gift wrap these products. You're going to charge $5 for lamination, or whatever it is, the attribute that you're offering. Other ones may be incremented, like paper surface type, so on and so forth. So you want to make sure you give it a name. You want to give it a price adjustment for the first unit and a price adjustment for the second unit. And it's as simple as that. And if you want to add a new line, you just hit new line, and you go down here, and I can add option 5. And you can put in whatever I want, make it whatever price, and then it'll show up. Now, fulfillment override is a way in which you can make the production work the way it works today, but with attributes. So if you already have a luster paper with envelopes channel, you enter that code here, and then it'll follow the same production and paper rules. So you'll be able to start with any product and move it to another product in production and pricing. So that's what you want to do if you're doing that. So that's what the fulfillment overrides are doing. Most of you aren't going to play with this Christmas, but just know when you need to get your production to be more efficient, you can contact us. We can help you do that. Okay. So let's take a look at how the text input features work. Okay. So I have that down here under camera bags is where I stuck the dog tag. So again, change the icon whenever you can. Come in here and you want to enable it, turn on the personalization, choose text input, how many characters per line, how many lines, is there a price adjustment? So for foil, for example, maybe there is a price adjustment for text. For other types of engravings, maybe you're charging by the line. It's up to you and how you do it. And there you go. And that's how you do it. So simply number of lines per character, number of lines, price it, and you're off and away making dog tags or luggage tags or engraved or embossed items, whatever it is that you want to make. All right, so let's take a look at now, let's take a look at what another feature of the attributes, which is the crop guides and safe zones. So essentially, if I go down here into photo books, and I'm going to go into Prestige photo books. I'm going to go into lay flat photo books. All right. When I go into a product, first you notice there's a description that we talked about that you can search on. But now there's this new option. Well, it's not new. It's been around for about half a year now, but a lot of people aren't using it yet. Is the ability to design warning zones and danger zones in the user interface to tell the customer where images are going to be cropped and where they're not going to be cropped. So if you know you have bleed of a 1/4 inch in a book, you're going to want to put this here. So you'll see here that we have defined the top, left, and bottom bleed at 3% essentially for the top and bottom, and a 1.5% bleed on the left and right, which comes out to about a 1/4 inch all around. So you define it by percentage, but it will tell you what the actual measurement is based on the product output. You give it what the title of the text is, and then you say the danger zone. So the warning zone means it may or may not be cropped, meaning it's kind of could fluctuate here and there. You may be cropped. It's in the danger zone. In the warning zone. The danger zone is this area is going to be cropped. So you know, no matter what you do, 1/8 of an inch is going to be cropped. But within a 1/4 of an inch, you may or may not lose that piece of the business, depending on how your production works. So you can have 2 zones for your warning zone. So let's go ahead and, oops, I don't know what Prism is. I'm going to go to Prestige Photo Books. Okay, and then I'm going to go to lay flat photo book, and then I'm going to show you what this looks like. Well, I wonder if it's in demo. It's probably just right here. I could probably just do it right on. All right, I'm going to go ahead and order a Prestige lay flat. Yeah, that's faster. I don't need to go to Prestige. Okay, now I'm going to go in and make my book. This is where additional pages, we talked about that earlier. Very important. Let me find an aspect correct. We see a image. You can see here now you have the area may be cropped, and then down here the area will be cropped. So the dark red is definitely going to be cropped out, and the dotted line is a place where it may or may not be cropped out, and that's set right here. So that's a great example of how to deploy. Sorry, where was I? How to deploy the aspect check and also cropping warnings for customers. Some people have even taken away from doing Canvas. So, you know, the way we traditionally have done Canvas as a group, I'm going to go ahead and leave this, is with a shaded out area that shows how the canvas looks. So let's go ahead and make this canvas here. So traditionally, we've always done Canvas like this, where I take a photo and then it'll show where the wrap is. Some people don't like that because maybe their wrap area is very unique to their borders or their stretcher bars, or they change stretcher bars from time to time and they don't want to keep updating products. Well, you can use those danger and warning zones instead, and you could call it wrapped area when you define it in that system, because again, that text is flexible. So if you really want complete control of how your canvas or your acrylics or whatever works, you can definitely do that. Instead of using it through content, you can do it through the warning zones, which is another way to look at the product. Okay, back to MyLab. Those are some interesting features. Some of the other things that are neat within MyLab that you need to make sure you pay attention to are the web links. Every product within our system, including some of the content, is directly linkable within our Photo Finale system. And this is important because more and more customers are opening their emails on their phones. So if you send them an email to make a greeting card, and they're compelled to make that greeting card right then on their phone, if you link directly to that card, you got a better close rate, especially since most of their images are on their phone. So you link right to the card, they click, oh yeah, I should make a Christmas card. I've just the image. They click on the image on their phone and they start making it. If you link instead to your main web page, they have to find your Christmas cards. They have to go through all your marketing and merchandising stuff, which will have a decline in your close rate. So what you want to do, link directly to whatever product that you're marketing in your emails, and then go directly there. So you get that data for like going here to web links and finding out exactly what product you want to link to directly. So for example, there's a link for ornaments. So if I take that link, I should be able to link directly to gifts/ornaments, and then I can sell people ornaments via email. Software releases is where you can find the latest releases of all of our software. Just hit the download button over here, and you can download your software. And then reports. This is a little used area within our system, but very valuable. And this will tell you everything about your store, your sales, your customers, what they're ordering, so on and so forth. Some of the ones that I like that a lot of people don't use are like the open cart report. If you go to the open cart report, that'll tell you how many people have used your site and not checked out, and when they did that. So this will actually give you the abandonment rate for your carts. You'll know when people are coming to you, but they're not closing for some reason. You can then either contact them directly, or you could just use it as information internally. So you can see here the session that I was doing. As you can see that this is what I was ordering. This is my email address, and this is my contact information because I was a member. All that information's in the system. So again, if you wanted to know who's using your site, not checking out, you want to do the open cart report. Let's say you do a lot of printing through third-party suppliers like LA Cameras or Richmond Camera or CCI or Prestige or whoever you use in our marketplace. Essentially, you can go to this online orders line item status report by supplier, and that'll tell you every order and every product that you have on order with the supplier and what their status is. So this is a great answer to that question that we get here a lot in support, which is the Wizmo question: where is my order? You can track this all yourself by running that report, and it'll tell you exactly where your order product is. And if you notice the supplier hasn't printed it yet, you can contact that supplier and say, hey, you know, what's up, Johnny? I got to get this book out to the customer. Can you help me? And you understand where we're going with that. So those are the features of MyLab. I mean, there's lots of features within here that MyLab has, but these are the new ones, and these are the things and how you configure it. I think that's everything I have to share that's new within our system for the fourth quarter. We really are excited about helping you find new ways to profit and create more customer satisfaction. But I'm going to open up to questions now, and let's see what we got. Okay. All right, I have your first question here. It's from Ward Lundgren. Can we change the text for the USB option on the kiosk? So that is a yes and a no question, yes and a no answer. If you are not very technically savvy, meaning you don't have an IT staff member and you really don't have time to mess around with the internals of the kiosk, I would say the answer to that is no. It's not built into Lab 50 to change the text of what's happening on the USB device. So I would say no, there's a no to that. However, if you are savvy and you've ever worked with what's called our APM lang files, you can edit the XML in our APM lang files and change that text. If you know what I'm talking about, then feel free to do it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you probably want to put it off till after Christmas, and we can go over exactly how to do things like that later on. So the answer is yes and no to that question. The next question is it possible to export all of the pricing to Excel to edit faster and import back again? Unfortunately, no, we don't have that ability. We now all the changes need to be done in MyLab, and it's very fast. It's very efficient in a browser. 2.25. The only thing you can't do that you could do in Excel is copy and paste, which I know is a great feature. But generally, most of us are only carrying about 55 or 60 products in our Photo Finale accounts. So you should be okay. I know it's not ideal. We'd prefer to export it and import it, but right now we don't have that. How do you turn on the marketing panel in the kiosk? So I'm going to go ahead and show you real quick. I think I showed it in the beginning, but I'm going to show it again just to make sure it's easy. If you want to change the marketing panels in the kiosk, you simply hit Monitor Settings here under the Setup Wizard. I was using right aligned. You could use left aligned or floating window or centered. And then you want to change the image. If you want to do your own image, you would do this, and you would just select the image from the hard drive. If you want to use our default images, you can reset the default, or if you want to post them to your own URL, like a Dropbox account or your own domain, you can do that, and all your kiosks can inherit those images. So That's how you change that branding. And the way you change the intro movie loop is to go here to intro movie, and then you would just insert images into here. These are 1024 by 768 for the design, and for monitor settings, it's 480 by 1080. Now that's based on my computer. If you're running a different aspect ratio than other than 1080 by 1920 by 1080, then you would want to, take a look at what it says. It'll tell you the actual number right there. Next question is, have you found a way to turn off templates? That is a feature that we wanted to get done for this Christmas. The Apple HEIF file system changeover caused us to delay several projects. We did not anticipate having to revamp the whole imaging architecture. You imagine a lot of things changed in our whole system to make sure we support HEIF files. So that delayed a few options. That's one of them. We'll have that in the early first quarter. And we apologize, we don't have that right now. Can you copy the personalization with pricing for multiple products rather than entering it manually each time? Unfortunately, no. Right now, we do not have a bulk update tool, so you do need to do it by product, one by one. I know it can be time-consuming, but you're only doing it once. And once it's done for good, and it will really generate a lot of revenue. And again, be judicious about it. I don't. One of the inclinations of all of us as operators of businesses is to get and do everything the right way from the beginning. And I think there's some merit to that. There's also some downside to doing every product. You're going to print cards and calendars and photo books this Christmas in huge volumes, cards and calendars particularly. Focus on those products first. Don't bother doing any product tags for keychains and dog tags and whatever esoteric product that's underneath your catalog. Get your cards situated, get your calendar situated, and then move down product by product. Don't try to do it all at once. And that's what I would recommend doing. Okay. A question is, our customers' names don't show up on the printed receipt for kiosk gifts. And that's a fair comment. Essentially what that comment is about is the creative side, PFA kiosk, of the kiosk. When a customer comes into the creative side, they're essentially going into your website. And that's why it's using the same rules for pricing and coupons, memberships, saved projects. All of that stuff is actually the same as your website, and it's very easy to configure and better for the consumer and more fancy and all sorts of things. The downside is there's a security layer for every browser to the local file system that doesn't allow you to pass certain information. One of those things is customer name, also credit card data, those things. You can't pass through that security layer between a browser and the local file system. We have to adhere to that standard because we are a PC compliant shop, and we do look after security quite often for you guys. It is a big part of what we do. You guys know that over the last 3 years, we've been mentioning security more than anyone. And we are worried about the idea of security and protecting your brand and protecting your consumers. So the short answer is we're aware of the limitation, and there's really not much we can do about it right now. What we do is we pass the order number, and the order number can print on an invoice from Lab 50, which then you can marry up very easily. You could put barcodes on both to make it very simple for you to match those in the back office. So you can also look at how to barcode items if you'd like. That takes me to another comment that didn't come up, but something I think I want to make sure I highlight here. And that is, inside of your Photo Finale account, there's this track order option that every order that the customer has is in your system, and it has the current status, and it can update them via emails via our triggering system in Lab 50. One of the things that my lab has built in is something called the fulfillment tab. And I only really know of one customer in the independent space that uses this effectively, and that's Dan's Camera. So if anybody knows them, you can bug them for what they're doing. And I apologize in advance, folks in Dan's Camera. But essentially what you can do is you can have a barcode on your invoices. You can have a barcode reader hooked up to a browser like this. It can zap it. It'll enter in the order number, and then you can zap the tracking number right out of the UPS or FedEx. It'll detect the carrier, and then you can mark as shipped. And what that barcode station allows you to do at the end of the day is put tracking numbers into the tracking system here without having to have full integration. So it's a very simple way of making sure you're managing your shipped orders and giving your customers good feedback for how they can track their orders. So that's just one thing I wanted to call out there. When you have an attribute, you must have at least one attribute defined. I think we went over that already, but yes, if you're looking at your attributes, you have to make sure you've defined the generic attribute, which is the repeat of the product itself, in first, and then you do your upsell options. So you want to make sure when I'm looking at cards here, for example, what's going on there? I go to cards, and I go into my 8x4 card. I'm going to go here, back here. All right. You notice this is an 8x4 flat card, which is just a glossy paper with envelopes. I have to put that option first, and then I can put my upsell option. So make sure you always have your first option first. Can we add the quantity manually in the kiosk just like we now have on the web? That will be coming in an upcoming version as well. Do we have promotional materials available for the download and merchandising side of the kiosk? Yes, those are available. You can contact our support team and they'll forward it to you, just support@photofinale.com. Rachel has also put it in our newsletters, so if you didn't get our newsletters, please subscribe to those and you'll see those. And I'll make sure that's in an upcoming newsletter as well with the PSD files and links for things you can modify. Okay. Upload to kiosk.com says it has 100 image max. Can I do more? I just did 200. Okay, that's a good comment. And let me show you exactly what we're talking about. Let's go back to my screen mirroring. Okay, and I'm going to go to Safari. Okay, and I'm going to say, so when I started it, well, let me go, how do I reset back here? Yeah, I want to reset. I don't want to be inside the system. Okay, as soon as I go to upload to kiosk.com, it'll say a maximum of 100 photos, 10 megabytes each. Get started uploading. Okay, so we put maximums in there just to kind of get the customer thinking about bracketing this upload instead of trying to upload 2,000 images at once, which could tie up their phone for a long time, tie up the kiosk for a long time, and have them, and also have more room for failure. So if you have a 0.03% failure rate, the more images, the more likely it's going to happen in a bigger order. So we don't restrict it to 100 images. We actually restrict it to 200 photos, but we tell them 100 just to get them thinking of that. And we know that they may select 103 or 104. The other thing that we do is we tell them 10 megabytes. This is going to go up in the short term. I think by tomorrow it actually be increased, but we actually allow up to 20 megabytes. But there is a limit, and there's always going to be a limit because some of these files are too big. You're getting a 50 megabyte files of the Nikon D850 now, which are just crazy. But essentially that's what you do. So with the minimum is the minimum, but we do allow more, and same with this. So you can be secure that we're letting customers upload as much as possible. Okay. Is there any way to hear this webinar again? Yes, we're going to post it online. And I think that's all the questions. I don't see any other questions. Okay, well, if there's no more questions, I want to thank everybody for their time. I think that's everything I'd like to share. These things you don't want to go too long anyway. If you'd like to contact us about any questions concerning this, please contact us at support@photofinale.com. If you don't get a response as fast as you'd like under that scenario, contact your sales guys next. They're motivated to help you, especially this time of year, at sales@photofinale.com, or if you know their direct email for Bonzi or Dave. And of course, everybody knows my contact information. If you don't, you can get it from our website. Please feel free to reach out to me. Again, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your business, and I look forward to a profitable fourth quarter with all of you, and thanks again.